The first thing you see in Black Myth, Wukong is a monkey who already won. He survived everything. A mountain held him for 500 years, and he outlasted it. He walked through hell and fire and the judgment of heaven, and he came out the other side. He completed a pilgrimage that was designed to break him and instead made him a Buddha. He earned his freedom, officially, cosmically, with the full backing of divine authority. The headband around his head was supposedly gone. He was free. And then, in the first 5 minutes of the game, heaven sends an army to his mountain. His monkeys are slaughtered. He fights, he loses, he's sealed in stone, and the whole thing starts again. Here's the part that will stay with you long after the credits roll. He planned it that way. This is the story of Sun Wukong and the Buddha, of the most humiliating defeat in all mythology. The day a monkey flew to the edge of the universe and discovered he'd never left someone's hand, and how he spent the rest of eternity building an escape inside of it. Find somewhere comfortable, let the room get quiet, and let's go somewhere very old. There is a mountain at the eastern edge of a mythological world. The mountain of flowers and fruit, Huaguoshan. On its highest peak rests an ancient stone, sitting there since before memory began, absorbing the essence of heaven and earth through centuries of sun and moonlight and the deep, slow energy that Chinese cosmology calls qi. For ages without number, it gathers. And then, one day, the stone cracks open. What comes out is a small stone monkey, bright-eyed and completely unmarked by fate. No name, no history. Just a living creature, immediately curious, immediately in motion. He finds the other monkeys on the mountain, joins their company, and because he is brave enough to dive behind a great waterfall and discover the water curtain cave hidden behind it, a cave that becomes home and shelter for all of them, they crown him their king. His first title, the Handsome Monkey King. This is the opening of Journey to the West, the 16th century Chinese novel by Wu Cheng'en that Black Myth Wukong draws its entire world from. The stone monkey is not born for greatness. He is born curious. He earns his title through courage, not conquest. For hundreds of years he rules his mountain with something close to peace. But one day he watches an elderly monkey die of old age, and something shifts inside him. He leaves the mountain to find what cannot be found there, a way to live forever. He wanders for over a decade, crossing the sea, moving through human civilization in disguise, searching for anyone who knows what he's looking for. He eventually finds an immortal sage, Patriarch Subhuti, sometimes called Puti-Zushi, living in a cave on a mountain of spirits. The sage accepts him, names him Sun Wukong, meaning roughly, monkey awakened to emptiness, and for the next 7 years teaches him the secrets that will make him one of the most dangerous things alive. He learns the 72 earthly transformations, the ability to take the shape of any creature, any plant, any object. He learns the somersault cloud, which carries him 108,000 li, about 54,000 kilometers, in a single leap. He learns cultivation, breath, the arts of extending life beyond all natural limits. When he finishes and returns to Flower Fruit Mountain, he is no longer a simple animal. He's something that doesn't fit cleanly in any category. Stronger than most gods, faster than most demons, and carrying in his chest a specific restless need for more. He intimidates the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea into surrendering a weapon, the Rui Jingu Bang, a staff that once served as a depth-measuring rod in the mythological Great Floods. It now answers entirely to its new owner, shrinking to the size of a sewing needle behind his ear, stretching large enough to touch the sky. The texts say it weighs around 7,960 kilograms. He handles it like a thought. Then he descends into the underworld and erases his name. and the names of all his monkeys from the Book of Life and Death. He is no longer subject to a natural ending. Death cannot recall him. Word of all of this travels upward, and the celestial court, the divine bureaucracy ruled by the Jade Emperor, becomes very concerned about a monkey on a mountain. The celestial court in Journey to the West is a divine government, and the word government is not used loosely. Ranks matter. Titles carry cosmic weight. It is organized, humorless about its own importance, and deeply convinced of its own necessity. When the Jade Emperor hears about the increasingly powerful and disruptive monkey below, he tries the diplomatic approach. Bring him in. Give him a job. Make him part of the hierarchy. The invitation to heaven is extended. Sun Wukong arrives delighted. He has never been to heaven. He assumes he is about to receive something grand. A title befitting a being who has mastered immortality and erased his own death from the ledger. What he receives instead is an appointment as keeper of the heavenly horses. Bima Wen. A title that translates essentially to stable hand. A post with essentially no rank in the celestial hierarchy, low enough that it functions as a barely veiled insult. The novel says that when Sun Wukong learns this, fire leaps from his heart. He kicks over his desk, walks out of heaven, returns to his mountain, and plants a flag. The flag bears a new title he created himself. Qitian Da Sheng, the great sage, equal to heaven. He gave this to himself. No authority granted it. And when the Jade Emperor sends celestial armies to bring him back, they fail completely because there is no conventional method for stopping something that cannot be killed and cannot be tired out. Heaven eventually, grudgingly, officially recognizes the title. To keep him occupied, they give him a new role, Ardian of the Heavenly Peach Garden, where magical trees bloom every 3,000, 6,000, and 9,000 years, and their fruit grants immortality at ascending levels. It seems like a quiet, beautiful assignment. It is not. Sun Wukong eats the peaches, the ripest, most powerful ones, entire groves of them. He then slips into Laozi's hall and swallows 5 gourds of the most powerful immortality elixir in existence. Laozi is the great Taoist philosopher deity, and those pills took millennia to prepare. Then, discovering he was not invited to a great celestial banquet being held nearby, Sun Wukong drinks all the wine set aside for it. All of it. Heaven collapses into chaos. 100,000 celestial soldiers, the 28 mythical constellations, the 4 heavenly kings. Nezha, the fierce young warrior god with his fire wheels and his devastating red sash. They all fight Sun Wukong. None of them stop him. He is, at this point, the most physically overwhelming creature in the Mastuaritas, universe outside the very top of the divine hierarchy, and he has just consumed enough immortality substance to last several geological ages. In genuine desperation, Laozi offers a solution: the 8-trigram furnace. If they can place Sun Wukong inside it and subject him to 49 days of samadhi fire, perhaps the heat will destroy him, or at minimum refine him into something manageable. They capture him briefly, through trickery, and through the cumulative exhaustion of days of battle. They lock him in. They light the fires. Here is something worth noting about that furnace. The samadhi fire inside it is a purifying flame, associated in Taoist alchemy with the burning away of impurities. The fact that Sun Wukong was not destroyed suggests that there were no impurities of a kind the furnace could remove, that what he was made of could not be refined away. What could be refined out were the last traces of his mortality. When the door opens 49 days later, he leaps, free harder than he went in. The fire has burned away more of what was killable in him, His body has been hardened to something like living copper and iron, and he has gained something entirely new: the fiery eyes and golden pupils, Huo Yan Jin Jing in Mandarin, an ability to see through any illusion, any disguise, any deception, straight to the truth beneath it. His eyes can now pierce lies. He smashes the furnace. He starts fighting again. Heaven, completely out of options, sends for someone else entirely. Mount Lingshan, the Western Paradise. The realm of the Buddha, referred to in the text as Tathagata, a Sanskrit title meaning one who has arrived at and departed from the truth. One who has fully understood the nature of things. In the cosmological structure of Journey to the West, the Buddha exists at least partly outside the celestial court's politics. He is not directly under the Jade Emperor's authority. He represents a different kind of power. Not the seat, accumulated immortality of consumed peaches and elixir, not the force of armies, but something quieter and, as Sun Wukong is about to discover, immeasurably larger in scope. He arrives where the chaos is. He listens to Sun Wukong's argument that the Jade Emperor has ruled heaven too long, that any being who cultivates themselves to a sufficient degree deserves the throne, that Sun Wukong himself qualifies. The argument has its own internal logic. The Buddha hears it without apparent hurry. Then he makes a bet. If Sun Wukong can jump out of his open palm, heaven is his. The Jade Emperor steps down. The throne of all creation belongs to the great sage equal to heaven. If he cannot, he accepts his punishment. Sun Wukong looks at the Buddha's hand. It is a hand. He is a being who can cross 54,000 kilometers in one leap. He accepts without hesitation. He steps into the palm, calls up the somersault cloud, and launches. He moves so fast the world becomes color and blur. He passes through the clouds, through layers of sky, past the celestial realms, into regions that grow quieter and more empty the further he travels. He goes until he reaches a place where all motion and light seem to culminate, a vast, still space. He finds there 5 enormous pillars of pale stone, rising into a sky that has gone quiet and faintly green, holding up what appears to be the ceiling of everything. He has done it. He has reached the end of the universe. To prove he was there, he plucks a hair, transforms it into a writing brush, and inscribes on one of the great pillars. The great sage equal to heaven was here. Then, and this detail matters, because it speaks to what he is, he urinates on the base of the middle pillar, turns his cloud around, flies back to the Buddha's palm, and announces that he won. The Buddha opens his hand, turns it slowly, shows Sun Wukong the base of his middle finger. There, in small characters, is the inscription, and the other evidence of a monkey's visit. The 5 great pillars that Sun Wukong believed were the pillars of the universe were the fingers of the Buddha's hand. He had never left the palm. He had traveled at the absolute limit of his speed across what felt like the totality of creation, and the entire journey had fit inside a space the size of an open hand. He tries to run. He does not get far. The Buddha turns his palm over, and it becomes a mountain. The 5 elements mountain, Wu Shan, made of all 5 cosmic elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, water. It descends on Sun Wukong with a weight that no amount of physical power can lift, because it is not merely physical. A paper talisman is placed at the peak, inscribed with the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum in golden letters. The most powerful fighter in the cosmos is sealed inside a mountain, with only his head and hands protruding from the base. 500 years. This is the part most adaptations skip quickly. Sitting with it is difficult. The Buddha, described in the text as acting from compassion, arranges 2 earth spirits to attend to Sun Wukong during his imprisonment. When he is hungry, they feed him iron pellets. When he is thirsty, they give him molten copper to drink. Nothing soft, nothing living. Only iron and copper, day after day, for 500 years. This detail mirrors the punishments of hell realms in Buddhist cosmology. Scholars of Journey to the West have noted that what Sun Wukong experiences under the mountain maps closely to the symbolic death and purgatory cycles described in Buddhist accounts of karmic consequence. He is immortal in multiple ways. He has eaten the peaches, swallowed the elixir, been hardened by samadhi fire, erased himself from the book of death. None of it helps him here. He can endure everything. He simply cannot leave. He cannot transform out of it. The mountain is made of the 5 elements that constitute all reality, and there is nowhere to go that lies outside them. He cannot die into relief. He is simply present for 500 years, with the stone above him and the iron in his throat and the memory of a palm. What a mind as vast and restless as his does with 5 centuries of enforced stillness, we can only approach from inference. But consider what he was shown. A being who flew as fast and as far as he could possibly go, and discovered that the boundary of the universe was someone else's hand. What he was shown, in the most vivid possible way, was that power and reach are not the same thing. That a mind which cannot conceive of a space larger than its own experience will always mistake someone else's palm for the edge of everything. The world shifts outside the mountain while he waits. Dynasties rise and fall. Celestial alignments change. Demons find their territories. The character who emerges from this stone, the one who kneels to a mortal monk, who walks 10,000 miles in someone else's service, is made of whatever happened in that darkness. That is not nothing. That is perhaps the whole point. The moment that ends the imprisonment never arrives through force. It could not have. It comes through a conversation. The Bodhisattva Guanyin, the goddess of compassion, one of the most revered figures in all of Chinese Buddhism, she who hears the cries of those who suffer, is tasked with finding disciples to protect a monk named Tang Sanzang, who will travel from Tang Dynasty China to the Western Paradise in India to retrieve sacred sutras. He will need someone powerful enough to handle whatever the journey presents. Someone also in need of something the journey might provide. Guanyin visits the 5 Elements mountain. She speaks to Sun Wukong through the stone, tells him about the monk, the pilgrimage, and the offer. Protect this person faithfully, complete the journey, and your imprisonment ends. He says yes without hesitation. No negotiating, no conditions. After 500 years under a mountain, a voice offers a road, and he takes it. Think for a moment about what that yes carries inside it. The certainty of it, the speed. It reads less like an eager prisoner grabbing at any exit, and more like someone who has been waiting for exactly this shape of thing, waiting without knowing what he was waiting for, and now recognizing it on arrival. When Tang Sanzang comes to the mountain weeks later and removes the talisman, something only a mortal of exceptional spiritual virtue could do, because the seal was never designed to bar mortals, the mountain splits. Sun Wukong steps out. He is physically unchanged. The same form, the same power, the same fire in his eyes. But he kneels. He kneels in the dust in front of an ordinary human monk and calls him Master. That kneeling is one of the most quietly remarkable moments in the whole mythology. The being who declared himself equal to heaven, who fought 100,000 soldiers to a standstill, he kneels to a mortal without being asked to, with what reads like genuine intention. 500 years of iron and copper, and this is what he chose to do with the first moment of freedom. There is something in that choice that carries the whole weight of the mountain inside it. There is, however, one more piece. Before the journey begins, Guan Yin, anticipating that Wukong's nature will make him nearly impossible to manage, has given Tang Sanzang a golden headband and a spell that tightens it unbearably whenever recited. The monk tricks Wukong into wearing it as a gift. Once on his head, it cannot be removed. It is a leash. Wukong knows it immediately. He is furious. He is furious for a long time, but he walks forward anyway. Remember the headband. Everything that follows in Black Myth, Wukong ultimately hinges on it. 81 tribulations. That is how Journey to the West counts the sufferings of the journey west, a number that mirrors the game's 81 major enemies, making the Destined One's own quest a deliberate echo of the original pilgrimage. Over 14 years of travel, through mountains, deserts, kingdoms, demon territories, rivers too wide to see across, and places that should not exist. Along the way, they gather companions. Zhu Baji, Pigsi, who was once the marshal of the Heavenly Canopy, commander of Heaven's naval forces, banished to the mortal realm in porcine form for harassing the moon goddess Chang'e. Lazy, gluttonous, occasionally surprisingly brave, perpetually looking for a way out of his obligations, and one of the most fully realized comic characters in all of Chinese literature. He becomes Sun Wukong's foil for the entire journey and appears in Black Myth. Wukong as an ally, imprisoned in the New West region, his presence in the game carrying the full weight of the original friendship behind it. There is also Sha Wujing, Sandy, quieter and steadier, a former celestial general banished for shattering a crystal goblet. And the White, Dragon Horse, who carries Tang Sanzang and was once a dragon prince. Sun Wukong fights. He is extraordinary at fighting. He uses his fiery eyes and golden pupils to pierce every disguise. He pulls hairs from his body and transforms them into copies of himself to overwhelm enemies with numbers. He slips through impossible situations using the 72 transformations. He defeats things that have been accumulating power for centuries. But he also makes mistakes. He kills beings that Tang Sanzang believes could have been reasoned with, and the monk dismisses him for it, multiple times. Each time, Wukong must humble himself to return. The pattern is deliberate in the text. This is the slow work of disciplining the monkey mind, the untethered impulse that acts before reflecting. Whether you read this as genuine spiritual growth or as ongoing subjugation is, notably, a question the novel leaves open. At the journey's end, they arrive at Mount Lingshan. The scriptures are delivered. The pilgrims are elevated. Tang Sanzang achieves Buddhahood. Zhu Bajie is given an eternal post-cleaning altars, a role he is, by nature, actually suited for. Sha Wujing becomes an Arhat, and Sun Wukong becomes the victorious fighting Buddha, Dojan Shengfo. The golden headband dissolves. He is free. The novel ends here, on that note of completion. Black Myth, Wukong begins exactly where the novel ends, and it asks a very specific question about what free actually meant. After the pilgrimage, after Buddhahood, after the headband supposedly dissolves and the title is given and the system has officially declared him one of its own. What happens next is not in Journey to the West. It is the game's own telling. But what it tells feels less like a rewrite and more like a consequence being followed to its honest end. Sun Wukong wants to go home. He wants Flower Fruit Mountain, his monkeys, the open sky above a waterfall, the life of a king on his own mountain with no rank and no obligation and no celestial court expecting his attendance. He does not want to be a Buddha in a palace, if being a Buddha in a palace means remaining inside the same structure that once imprisoned him. Different room, same walls. He asks to leave. Heaven says no. The game's opening animated sequence shows what follows with devastating simplicity. Heaven, mistrustful of Wukong after everything, still afraid of what he might do without oversight, sends forces to his mountain to compel his return. Monkeys are killed. Erlang Shen arrives, the three-eyed warrior deity, nephew of the Jade Emperor, one of the only beings who has ever genuinely matched the Monkey King in combat. They have fought before, during the original rebellion. This time it is closer. And then the headband activates. The headband that was supposedly gone when Buddhahood was granted. The game's argument, carried through the true ending's revelations, is that it was never truly removed. That the freedom granted at the journey's end was another form of the original bargain. You are free, provided you remain where we've placed you. The headband disappears when obedience is no longer needed as enforcement, because the system itself has become the enclosure. When Wukong steps outside it, the enforcement returns. His power falters at the critical moment. Erlang Shen delivers what every witness on that battlefield reads as a killing blow. Sun Wukong is sealed in stone on the summit of Flower Fruit Mountain, sealed inside the same birthstone that cracked open at the very beginning of his story. And his six senses scatter. What looks like a final defeat is, in fact, the moment the plan begins. This is the reveal that changes everything before it. According to the game's true ending, and the lore documented on the official Black Myth Wukong fandom wiki, what appears to be Wukong's desperate last act was actually a carefully laid plan. He did not scatter his senses randomly. He distributed them deliberately, with Erlang Shen's full knowledge and cooperation, to specific individuals, former enemies, beings of power, each one entrusted with a relic, and instructed to guard it and to test whoever came to claim it. The relic assignments are precise. The Black Bear Guai received Wukong's sight. The Yellow Wind Sage received his hearing. Yellowbrow received his sense of smell. The Hundred-Eyed Taoist Master received his taste. The Bull King received his body, though that particular relic passes through complications involving the Bull King's son, Red Boy, before ultimately reaching the Destined One. And the sixth relic, the most vital one, the sense of mind and memory, the one that contains the understanding of what actually happened and why, Erlang Shen kept for himself, stored in his own third eye. Every boss encounter across the game's 6 chapters was designed. The journey the Destined One makes through China is a gauntlet that Erlang quietly engineered, working with his sworn brothers, placing tests along the path, ensuring that whoever came to claim Wukong's legacy had to prove themselves worthy of it before the final piece could be given. And here is why the plan required Wukong to die, or at least to pass through something functionally equivalent to death. The headband could not be removed from a living Sun Wukong. He was bound by it during his life, and the constraint heaven had placed on him could not be undone from inside that life. The only path to freedom from the circlet was through a mortal ending, letting one cycle complete, leaving the headband behind in the water when his shell dissolved, and allowing a successor to rise who had never been touched by heaven's control. The game's prologue even seeds this, in a detail only recognizable on a second watch. Before the battle with Erlang begins, in the opening cutscene, something passes between them. A look, a word that we don't fully hear. What the true ending reveals was said. Wukong told Erlang that he would rip off the headband and break free. Not in this life, in the next one. The fight was never meant to be won. It was meant to look like a final defeat. And Erlang, the one history would remember as the god who killed the great sage, agreed to play that role. The Destined One is not Sun Wukong. This is worth saying clearly, because the game takes its time making it clear. He is a small monkey from Flower Fruit Mountain, one of many ordinary creatures inspired by old stories about the great sage, setting out on a journey that several generations of monkeys before him apparently attempted and failed. He begins with a staff and what feels like instinct, and almost nothing else. What the game gradually reveals, and what the old monkey, the elder figure who guides the Destined One throughout the journey, eventually states plainly, is that the Destined One is the mind of Sun Wukong in a specific and limited sense. Not a reincarnation that carries memories forward. The mind is described in the game as an essence unique to every life, something that does not transfer between existences, something that fades when a life ends. Wukong's original mind, the one that lived through stone and pilgrimage and all the centuries of consequence, is gone. It cannot come back as it was. What walks through the game is something new, something that begins without Wukong's memories but carries his fundamental nature, the curiosity, the refusal, the fire that cannot be fully banked. Over the course of the journey, as each relic is recovered, that nature clarifies and deepens. The true ending's central moment is built from this. After the Destined One defeats Erlang Shen in the secret battle on Mount Mei, an encounter only available to players who have explored the game's hidden paths, Erlang opens his third eye and releases what he has been holding. Wukong's memories, flowing into the Destined One all at once. The full understanding, the plan, the whispered agreement before the battle. What the headband means and has always meant. Then the Destined One defeats Wukong's broken shell, the senseless, instinct-driven remains that have been sealed in the birthstone since the opening, and it dissolves into leaves. The golden headband materializes from the stone and drops into the shallow water of the pool. The old monkey approaches and holds it out. In the bad ending, the headband goes on. The Destined One accepts it, and the cycle continues. Heaven's long arm closes around a new monkey, and somewhere, sometime, there will be another one who tries. In the true ending, the Destined One, carrying Wukong's memories, understanding what the circlet is and has always been, keeps still, does not take it. The stone on Flower Fruit Mountain cracks open one final time. And what steps out is not Wukong restored, not the old story repeating with new actors. It is something genuinely new, carrying all of the great sage's power, none of his chains, and a choice that was never available to the original. Born from the same stone, free in a way its predecessor never was. The crack in the stone happens twice in this story. Once at the very beginning, when a monkey steps out with no idea what he is. Once at the end, when something steps out knowing exactly what it chose to become. There is a question that black myth Wukong earns the right to ask, and it is worth sitting with before we close. The Buddha, in Journey to the West, is not presented as a villain. He is vast, serene, possessed of a wisdom that operates on a scale beyond ordinary comprehension. His trapping of Sun Wukong is described as a form of compassionate correction, the kind of instruction that looks like imprisonment because the student is not yet prepared to understand what is being taught. The 500 years are meant to transform, not merely punish. And by the novel's own measure, they did transform. The Wukong who kneels to Tang Sanzang is genuinely different from the one who flew into the Buddha's palm expecting to find the edge of the universe. But the game asks, was the transformation worth the cost? And was the freedom promised at the journey's end ever actually freedom? Or was it a more sophisticated form of the same containment? The game does not answer cleanly. The old monkey who may be an agent of heaven's continued control is not depicted as simply evil. The Buddha is not monstrous. The system that Sun Wukong fought against is not straightforwardly wrong, but it is a system that, even at its most compassionate, tends to close around things that refuse to be categorized. And the story's quiet argument is that a being born from stone with no assigned destiny, reaching beyond every category the celestial hierarchy tried to place him in, was never going to be fully safe inside that system. Not because the system was malicious, but because what he was didn't fit what the system was designed to contain. The number 81 in the game, 81 major encounters, mirrors the 81 tribulations of the original pilgrimage deliberately. The journey the Destined One makes is another pilgrimage. In the original novel, the destination was a set of scriptures. In the game, the destination is a different kind of freedom. A monkey stepping out of stone without a golden ring around its head. Game Science, the studio that created Wukong, is small by the standards of the global industry. CEO Feng Ji and a group of colleagues left Tencent in 2014. They chose Journey to the West not as a safe commercial bet, but because, as Feng Ji described in interviews, the story felt personally alive to him in a way he could not set aside. The team read the original novel more than 100 times. They designed 1.2 billion models for different versions of the Monkey King's armor. Real places in China were built into the game with exact and loving attention. The ancient Buddhist architecture of Shanxi province, the rock carvings of Dazu, the Kaiyuan Temple in Quanzhou. The game was released on August 20th, 2024. It sold 10 million copies in its first 3 days and 20 million copies in its first month, making it one of the fastest-selling games ever recorded. At launch, it hit the second highest concurrent player count in Steam history, behind only PUBG. It won multiple Game of the Year awards for 2024. For players in China, it represented something that had not previously existed. A fully realized, internationally competitive game built from a story they grew up with, taking Sun Wukong seriously as the layered, contradictory, magnificent figure he has always been in Chinese culture, rather than flattening him into a simple action hero. State media outlets that had spent years arguing that video games were harmful to youth reversed their position almost entirely. Tourism to Shanxi province, where many of the game's real locations exist, rose by over 300%. For many people in China, the game felt like a cultural arrival, proof that their own mythology could carry a world-class production without dilution or translation for a foreign audience. For players outside China, it opened a door into a tradition of storytelling thousands of years old. Searches for Journey to the West surged in every language following the game's release. Sun Wukong has influenced more stories than most people realize. Dragon Ball's son Goku carries his lineage, the name itself the Japanese reading of the Chinese characters. Wukong appears in Dota 2, in Smite, and countless other games. He has been in Chinese animation and film and television since the beginning of all of those mediums. He is genuinely one of the most recognized fictional characters in the world, and the West has only recently begun to fully encounter him on his own terms. But what black myth Wukong does that most adaptations don't, it is take the under apparent triumph at the end of the original story and ask what was on the other side of it. What does it feel like to win the way the novel says Wukong won and still not be free? What does it cost to have earned freedom as a title while the mechanism of control is still fitted around your head? And what does it take for a being born from a cracked stone with no assigned destiny to be free in the actual bone-deep sense? Not free in rank, not free in title, but free the way the stone monkey at the very beginning of the story simply was, before anyone had placed a name on him? The answer the game arrives at is patient and strange and quietly moving. It takes a plan longer than 500 years. It takes a trusted enemy willing to look like a killer. It takes a defeat so complete that heaven stops watching, and a new monkey rising from the same stone without a golden band around its head. The great sage does not get his freedom in a blaze of glory. He gets it in a quiet moment between stories, in the refusal of a headband, in the crack of an ancient stone, in 2 small feet on familiar ground, in open air that belongs to no one. And the staff, passed forward through a plan that lasted centuries, still fits perfectly in the hand. 500 years under a mountain, a plan built inside a defeat, a crack in a stone that happens twice. The first time, a monkey who doesn't know what he is. The second time, something that does. Wherever you are tonight, I hope you rest somewhere warm and open. And if something has been sitting heavy, I hope you find somewhere in the quiet that you've been building toward it longer than you knew. If these lore journeys help you find that quiet place, there are more of them here whenever you need them. A like helps this channel keep walking these roads, and if you want to be here for the next story, the subscribe button is waiting. Thank you for being here tonight. Good night.